Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited for today's conversation. Ken, thank you for joining us. A little introduction for listeners. Kenneth G. Wincorn is the founder and president of KGW Law, a full-service law firm serving the Dallas area and beyond. On your LinkedIn profile, you note something to the effect of over 40 years of experience in criminal and immigration law. But your firm today covers a much broader set of practice areas, including personal injury, corporate and civil law, estate planning, aviation law, and more. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank you. Now, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into law and how you got here today?
Okay. Well, I got into law because of the interaction that I had. I just got out of high school. I had just got my driver's license, and I was driving in a city close by, and I was stopped by the police going 45 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Didn't make any sense to me. Gave me a ticket for speeding, and I went to court. The court was in a tiny little cubbyhole size bathroom. The judge wheeled in a wheelchair, and he said, "What are you guilty of?" I said, "I'm not guilty." He said, "You are too." He said, "My officer gave you a ticket, and they don't make mistakes." And I said, "No, sir, I'm not guilty. The speed limit," he said, "I don't want to hear that." He said, "You're guilty." And he said, "You're in my court." And I said, "Well, sir," I said the only thing that I knew to say, and that was something I'd heard on Perry Mason on television. "I'm going to appeal." I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what to do. And he said, "Do you know what to do?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, then he said, well, you do it." He said, you go back out and do it." I didn't know what I'd done, but I heard giggling outside. It was the court clerks. When I opened the door and walked out, they were all laughing. And one of them said, "Do you know what you did?" I said, "No, I don't, but I think I got myself in trouble." And she said, "No." She said, "You fill out this paper." I said, "What happens when I fill it out?" She said, "Then we throw it in the trash can." She said, "Because we don't have an agreement," she said, with the corporation court. Well, I didn't know what that meant either, but I knew the trash can was a good thing. So I filled it out, and that's exactly what happened. But I got very, very upset. I was really mad. And I thought, this is unfair. This is miserable. And this is not what the law is supposed to be, not what I understand from what I understood about the Constitution and what I'd studied so far in school. And I said, I think I'm not one of them. And I made up my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So that was the beginning of my law career.
Wow, it's a very interesting motivation. Very, very, very fun story.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing.
And then, well, that led, and then after that, then I had to figure out what to do and how to do it. And I got very lucky because at the time, I hadn't started college yet. I was trying to decide where I was going to go. And I got roped into going into a bowling tournament, state bowling tournament, and I won it.
Wow.
Then I went to the national tournament, and I won that. This was a big deal. So they gave me a choice that I could either become a professional bowler and take money, or they give me a college scholarship where I wanted to go. And it took me about half a second to figure out the answer to that. I didn't want to be sitting in a bowling alley with a lot of people drinking beer for the rest of my life being a bowler. Even though I love bowling and I enjoyed it, but that just was not what attracted me at that time. Of course, bowling wasn't what it is now. Now it's a sport that actually has maybe something of a future in it. But at that time, it wasn't. So I took the scholarship and went and then decided on going to a school here in Texas at CMU, Southern Methodist University, because I started a little airline. and I got my pilot's license while I was at the end of junior high school, and when I was 16, and by that time I had gotten I got really interested in it. Started flying quite a bit, and uh, started this little airline, which was growing into a perfect, SMU in Dallas, because the airline was based it here. So I was going to school, flying all night, going to school during the day, uh, and I had to teach bowling in school.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a beginning for a career. A little bit unusual.
Yeah, that's I'm working on my PPL right now, and I'm in the check right practice stage, so it's interesting to hear.
It, anyway, the everything else kind of grew from that, between the airline and the law practice. I
Yeah,
finished college and went to law school, and then continued after that to started was traveling quite a bit, and I was flying everywhere.
yeah,
And I had free, and I could write my own passes on the airlines, so I'd go wherever I wanted to go. And because the name of the airline, which was Air National, people thought it was a big airline. It wasn't. It was me. But they thought it was big, so I got free hotels. I could go everywhere. So it gave me a real opportunity when I got out of law school and I started my law practice, travel extensively, because it didn't cost me anything. Uh,
yeah.
so, so anyway, that's the beginning. Anyway, what questions do you have specifically that might be able to help with?
Well, I mean, you expanded really from like one practice area to this one-stop shop. And what drove you to expand beyond criminal and immigration law into such a wide range of practice areas, including personal injury, corporate, civil, estate, aviation? We know that's because of your hobby and your love for aviation, but what drove you into expanding?
Well, I don't do all those just by myself. I have a staff of people, so I have offices in 2 cities, and even though we're small, not a big law firm, but I have help to be able to handle a number of those different areas. Um, and right now, I'm probably doing more of the immigration area than the others. I still fly a little bit, but that's not really for the law practice. Um, and then I started the medical company, and we're merging with a company that manufactures surgical instruments over in Asia. So I'm wearing more and more hats.
Yep.
Yeah, you need to show us your hat collection at some point now, but
More about 100.
that's amazing.
That is.
But I really like this emphasis of this one-stop shop for your clients. So different things happen in a person's life, and they can just come to you for other issues that arise from just living, and they can come to you for everything. How do you handle whatever? What is the process like for you to be able to offer that client-centric service and be able to handle that many different areas, but still keep it personal and client-centric and manageable?
Well, normally what happens is the client will post a call and tell exactly what type of issue they have. And then when they come in, very often it seems that they very often have something different than they think.
Yeah,
It's not unusual for someone to think that they have a corporate problem. The problem really is can be extensive. But dealing with different areas, first the biggest problem is keeping up with all of them, which I can't do. That's why, and I have a lot of people, so I have help. And if I have a problem, let's say someone comes in with a litigation case, and they also have got a family law problem. And the reason for the litigation is because they had difficulties at home and it caused other problems. Sometimes they've got maybe criminal issues. So all of those areas I've worked, but I have other attorneys here that can help me, and I can give them direct the cases to them. I'll do the interview very often, and then direct the case to them, and then try to decide what I think the issues are, and I'll give them a summary, and then generally they can take it from there. I can step back in if it's needed, but usually they're quite qualified and quite capable of handling most of the issues. There are a few things that I do exclusively. Aviation, I'm the only one here that does that. And on the international issue for conflicts of laws, I'm the only one who does that. But other than that, I have help from in every other area.
Yeah, wow.
That is just truly amazing. With such a diverse practice area mix, what are the biggest operational challenges you face when dealing with the different types of cases? All of the, immigration, corporate, personal injury, all of them under the same roof. What are the biggest bottlenecks you face?
Number one biggest problem is keeping up with being current on the law. Because in all those areas, you have to keep an extensive amount of reading and research. AI helps quite a bit now. But you can't know everything. You just can't do it. You can be if you try to do too many, you won't do a very good job. So that's the number one area. I try to limit myself to those things that I think I'm current with. And then when I have an issue or question, I will get some help. Get some help from lawyers here. We have an extensive network of other lawyers to work with all around the country in almost every area. With aviation, we have a number of people that I know around the country. In immigration, there are hundreds and hundreds, actually thousands, of wonderful lawyers, all members of an organization called American Immigration Lawyers Association. And almost any lawyer who really does extensive practice is a member of that. And through that, I can get advice, find people to help, and I can find work around the country, because very often work is not just localized to Dallas or the area in Texas, and sometimes it's federal, can be in other states, and we're only allowed to practice in those states that we're licensed in, at least for state law issues, not federal. Federal, we can practice everywhere, also in immigration. But when it comes to state law, I have to get someone from another state to give me advice. The laws can be quite different. So getting help from others is really important. And then research.
Yeah. So you got to coordinate with outside lawyers as well. So it's almost like you have this referral network to leverage out-of-state resources and other practice area resources, while in-house you're still keeping up with the policy changes.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah.
So how do you coordinate across attorneys, paralegals, and the rest of your staff to ensure cases get handled correctly and efficiently, especially with your team's multilingual and multicultural aspects?
Say that again. How do I coordinate what?
How do you coordinate with your attorneys, paralegals, and the rest of your staff?
Oh,
Like, how do
yeah.
you connect with everyone, and how do you make sure that the cases are handled correctly and efficiently, especially,
Sure.
with your practice areas? I'm sure there's multilingual people and multicultural aspects that you have to coordinate.
Well, that's a number of different questions.
Yeah.
The multicultural aspect of it is really interesting. In order to be able to deal with all the different ethnicities that we work with, because we work with Asians, we work with folks from South America, Central America, people from just about everywhere. And everyone has a different way of approaching issues in their culture. So you have to deal with cultural issues. That's critical. language barriers, uh, and even if they speak language, if it's not native, if they're not speaking, uh, they didn't speak it when they were very young and they didn't grow up in the language, then they still may not be interpreting what you're saying the way you mean it. So you have to be very careful in that area, and the key to that, I think, is number one, deal with those areas that you know, associate people that do know if you don't. When in dealing with paralegals and dealing with the other legal assistants, giving them good instructions, clear instructions, so that you get back what you need. What you need. With other lawyers, the same thing. It's communication. Ask what you need, or if it needs to be a referral directly to them, then but you make sure that you know that they're qualified. And that's not always easy, because when you were dealing with foreign jurisdictions, especially other countries, the only way that you can tell is to talk to other attorneys that you do know to find out about the attorney, and especially that you need. So depends on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then shift gear a little bit from the in-house operation side to the sort of getting client side. Given that you serve individuals, families, businesses, and more, how do you attract new clients across so many different verticals? Are there different acquisition channels depending on the practice area?
Well, the attraction of the clients is a big problem for everyone. It's knowing how to do it. You do it by publicity. You do it by referral network. For me, referral network is the key. The best cases that you get are from other people that you've done work for, or from attorneys that know of you, people that have seen you like podcasts. People who are watching it, and then they might find this interesting, and they'll say, "Well, I have an issue that you might be able to help me with." This is the best. Otherwise, it gets very expensive, and you you waste a lot of time, and you get a lot of people who are called tire kickers. They think they have an issue, but they want to find out how to handle it themselves, which is basically a disaster and a big problem for an attorney, because if you give advice, it's proper advice, and they misuse it and they get bad results, then they're really upset and may have all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Very, very careful about that.
Yeah. And when you say that you're wasting a lot of time, a lot of from interviewing different other lawyers, it sounds like a lot of times they start their marketing spend. A lot of people are calling their office number, and they couldn't keep it up, and realize they're wasting a lot of time talking to people who are not going to actually be a client to establish an attorney-client relationship. Instead,
Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very, very true. The time is the only thing that you have. Time and knowledge. Those are the two things that you're marketing to the public.
Yeah.
As a lawyer, you're providing a service, and if you don't use your time well, you can't give them what they need. So if you spend all your time talking to what you think are potential clients who really aren't, you won't be able to devote the time to the clients who really need you.
Right. So, but then there's the flip side of it. I heard a lot of lawyers that we interviewed were talking about that most people looking for lawyers, they choose the one that first picked up their phone. So how would you balance this? You got to be there to attract clients, be available to attract clients, at the same time to spend your time in the most valuable way.
I wish I knew. I guess at the answers. You struggle to find a balance. You have only so much time that you can market yourself. So many interviews you can do. You have to spend the time in court. You spend the time studying, you have to time, and depending upon what area of the law, usually you have to spend a lot of time preparing paperwork, preparing documents, checking, giving instructions to your staff, giving instructions to the paralegals, and checking their work, making sure that it's ready for your signature and you feel you can do it. It's adequate. So really, in finding clients, marketing, it takes a tremendous amount of time. And it's critical because if you don't do that, of course, you're not going to have practice. If you have quite a few people working for you, they need support. They have families. Always have to keep in mind that it's a business. Even though you love it, even though sometimes it's very challenging, you need to treat it as a business. You need to explain to your clients that that's what it is. That, when they take your time, that they're taking time away from others. And also, if they're taking too much time in the office, they're taking time away from what you need to spend on their case.
Yeah, yeah. That's also a common thing that we've been hearing from other lawyers, that even after establish the relationship, they constantly are calling you trying to get an update. And one thing that we heard from different lawyers that she wished that she can tell her client that I can either spend this time on your case or I can spend this time to be on the phone with you.
Which it's really critical to explain these, if you can, to the client up front when they first come in.
Yeah.
What you can expect, what they can expect of your time, and the more clearly you can do that, the less problems you'll have with their case later. Sometimes in a personal injury case, for instance, if they have unreasonable expectations, they're going to be very unhappy. You have to explain to them, if you can, what they're going to run into. You have an insurance company on their side that is generally not going to be terribly cooperative. They're there to make money for their policyholders to some extent, but really for their board of directors. They're a company. They make money. They don't make it by paying out. They make it by not paying. So you're going to have to do some work to be able to get a fair settlement out of them. Now, I will say there are exceptions. You will find every once in a while an adjuster who really tries to be fair. And a few of the companies actually some are better than others. So but the explanation of the client needs to be that they need to be reasonable about what they expect to get. They can't get the moment. If they have some just minor injuries, that it may be worth some money. Maybe if they lost time from work. They didn't lose anything. There's a little bit of pain and suffering, but there's not much money in it.
Yeah.
Mainly, you want to just get their bills paid, so they're not out of pocket.
Yeah.
But this explanation is critical. The client needs to understand it. If it's a corporate client, the same thing. What can they expect? What are the weaknesses in their case? What are the strengths? What information do you need? Every area is different. In immigration, there's tremendous amount of documentation that is often necessary. If it is an asylum case, or it could be a family-based immigration, it's corporate immigration. Again, there's a lot of paperwork that has to be put together, and then the client has to do it, and the lawyer then has to go through it, and it takes a lot of time. And then there are always risks that they may not get what they expect, what they want. So reasonable expectations are important.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and you have been running this law firm for so long. Now, you must have had a system in place that you have created or used to help you with the internal processes and like managing the complexity of intake, case management, and follow-up, document prep, scheduling, all sorts of different things. What are those processes that you've created? What are those pipelines that you have created to help manage all of those different aspects?
Or that you wish you had.
Or that you wish you had.
Well, they have the number one thing you have a good staff. That's probably critical because once you get it in, once you get a client in the office and they have particular issues, then you have to decide how are you going to solve those and what do you need. The information pipelines depends on what kind of information you need. There are companies that provide a lot of resources that save you tremendous amounts of time, depending upon the area that you're working with. And I think the main thing is just to know where do you go to get that help.
And if you could like wave a magic wand to fix anything, what would make any aspect of that pipeline more efficient?
If I could wave a magic wand, I would want to have. Well, I'm always looking at the quality of my staff and the help that I get from it, and the magic comes from that. And having the right people, that's the magic. Finding them, recognizing that's difficult.
Yeah.
And then loyalty,
Yeah.
very important, because over a period of time, you develop quality of work, and that the time that they've spent with you is critical. In their maturing, and also in your maturing. Also, you learn from them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have a magic wand. I don't know what the magic wand would be for what area. There's so many things that can be. It can always be better. You can always improve.
Yeah.
So, I think the most important thing is just to find. Number one for the magic wand is health.
Yeah.
That's the magic. If you don't have that, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And help for yourself, and help for your staff, help for everyone.
Yeah, that's truly the most important. We gotta take care of that. That's like the fundamental number one thing for sure.
Now, do you use any tools or softwares to help you organize or schedule or, communicate across?
In everything. There are tools in every area for immigration, for corporate work. There are thousands of tools out there. Recognizing which ones are health,
Yeah.
which ones that's difficult. That's the problem. That just takes experience.
Yeah. I mean, looking back when you first started the firm in the 1970s, a lot of things have changed. What are some key major changes that you've observed or that you've adopted throughout the time that you run a law firm? And looking ahead after that, what are the next steps what's the future like for you? What are we going to be focusing on in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I have ideas. I don't know what they'll be, because normally the opportunities they present themselves. The main thing is take advantage of those opportunities when they're there. I don't know what will happen in the future. I know I'm traveling quite a bit, and I'm finding different things to do in many parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in Pakistan. Just came back from Doha and Dubai there to do some work. With some international organizations, and I've learned tremendous amounts from them. But every time I do that, I also get new opportunities to work with people, new companies to start, areas of the law in other areas. What the future will hold, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's the question. I think there was another part to that.
Yes, back in you started this practice in the 70s.
Yeah.
What are some of the major changes you've experienced and adopted, and what lessons have you learned from them?
The changes in the way we research is tremendous. We started off. I've got an office full of books.
Yeah.
People don't touch them anymore.
The law library, yes.
Got to read. So there's some good things about that and bad. The good thing is you get tremendous amounts of information very quickly. And it's easier to assimilate it because you actually have ways some of the machine learning will put things together for you. The changes going trial work is tremendously different. Technology, my goodness, when I started, we didn't have cell phones. People now can't even imagine that, but we didn't have them. We had pagers, and even before that, we had telephones. but they were the ones that you picked up and put a quarter in back in the very, very early days.
Definitely not a video chatting like this.
All that has changed tremendously, and there's the resemblance, the similarities, but you still have the same issues to a large extent that you had before, and the solutions ultimately are they're the same. Just being able to get there, so much easier now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Any advice for the younger generation, or your peer, or prospective lawyers, or people who are looking for a law firm?
Yes, I do.
All right.
The advice is when an opportunity presents itself, take advantage of it. If you want an opportunity to travel, to go to another country, don't be frightened by it. Go. Do it. You'll learn tremendous amount. People are amazing. That's really that's the strength of the world. So take advantage of it. If you do that, you're going to have a good life and you're going to have an interesting life. But don't just pull it into yourself and not do things. Do it. You want to fly an airplane? Figure out a way, if you can't, do it. If you can't afford to fly an airplane, fly a glider. Learn how to fly gliders. If you can't do that, hang gliders. There's so many things you can do. If you want to do scuba diving, do it. Learn it. Find ways to find interesting things to do, whatever it is. But don't turn down the opportunities.
That is amazing. Opportunities come and just capture it.
Yes. Thank you so much. You have been an amazing guest today. And thank you for sharing all your insights. They were absolutely so valuable. And just thank you for being here.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure being with you.
Thank
you, Kim.